So this is the map. A lot of people, even though they've grown up here in Newport and these islands are just a few miles away, would have a really hard time being able to name all 8 Channel Islands. These are the islands that we visited, and this is the order that we saw them. Whoops. Okay, got it. So we left from Newport, went to Avalon. We went around Catalina to San Clemente, around San Clemente, up to Santa Barbara, around Santa Barbara, San Nicolas, and around San Nicolas. So we circumnavigated each of these first 4 islands. We also, how many people have heard the saying, sailors may make plans, but God just laughs? Well, our plan was to visit each island, anchor and spend the night at each island, and go ashore on each island, and then also to circumnavigate each island. That's what we call it. Initially, we were going to call this program the Circumnavigate. But we didn't quite make it. We accomplished all of that on all of the islands except for San Nicolas. We were unable to go ashore on San Nicolas only because there was a huge storm and the waves were really, really big. That was the same day, tragically, that a Newport Beach lifeguard was killed in action because the waves were so high. Well, they were just as high on San Nicolas that day. We just couldn't get ashore safely. After San Nic, we went up here to the 4 northerly Channel Islands, and we went from the outside in. So we did San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, and finished with Anacapa. When we were done with Anacapa, we hadn't had our fill of cruising the Channel Islands. We were having so much fun, so we went back to Catalina for 3 more nights. Anyway, it was a spectacular voyage. We had a blast. It was just the 2 of us on our boat, Traveler. It's a 47-foot north wind, built in 1985 in Barcelona, and it's out here on the dock. How many people were able to get down to the dock and see the boat tonight? Okay, good. If you want to see it after the program, we're going to have an open house, and you're welcome to come down to the dock and see it, okay? So this was the first morning. Okay, you got to put this in. My wife's incredible. She really is. So she just gets back from a 17 or 18-day trip to Europe, Ireland, France, Paris to LAX. I pick her up at LAX, and we drive directly to the boat and go off on this 18-day voyage on Traveler. She didn't even come home to change her underpants. She counted on me packing all of her clothes for her and fully provisioning the boat.
She wanted the same underpants for 4 weeks.
I want you to know I've changed them since.
So this is, we left the dock here, I don't know, when the early morning hours, and we're almost at Avalon when the sun came up. So this is our first sunrise. So here's an aerial of Catalina. And again, just a point of reference, this is Avalon, and this would be the east end, and this over here is the west end. So we came in here, went around this way, stopped over here at Little Harbor, Cat Harbor, and then around the west end, and then Emerald Bay is right there, and then this is Lion's Head and the Isthmus. This is 4th of July and Cherry Cove right there. And then around over here, this is Long Point and Whites and Moonstone and Toyon Bay right there, and then back to Avalon. That was our trip around, our circumnavigation of Catalina. First morning, just got the anchor down, still having the cup of coffee. Sun's kind of clearing up, nice little view. Avalon was totally packed. It was 4th of July weekend, so we had to anchor out, which is no big deal for us. We're very comfortable anchoring. Beautiful day that day here. We had some family and friends come over and join us, so we, they got little rides around on the floats. So this is my friend, our friend, the Richley family's boat, Amante. They're from Lido Isle Yacht Club. And Barbara and I have been racing on this boat for many, many years. Me 15, Barbara 9, I think. And so it was fun to see them over there. This is my friend Mark Hildren's boat, Juno. I think it's one of the finest yachts in Newport Harbor. Gary Hill's tugboat, the William B. Smart guy. He names his boat after his father-in-law. How can the wife complain about spending money on the boat when it's named after her dad? Here we are rounding the east end of the island. It's an active quarry, so they're mining for rock to make breakwaters and jetties. This is around the corner at Little Island. It's a little harbor. And normally it's empty, but because Avalon and all the moorings on the front side were full, these boats decided to come around to the back side. If you notice, they're at anchor with, also they have a stern anchor. So each one of these boats has a bow and a stern anchor to keep them from swinging into the rock. So it's a narrow anchorage to get 3 boats there. But you go ashore and there's camping facilities and stuff. So this is the approach to Cat Harbor. So this is the isthmus back here. And the isthmus that you're probably more familiar with is just the other side of this over here. So this is coming in the backside, Cat Harbor. This guy here, I think he must have figured that we were going to get the last anchorage, and he's like motoring to get in ahead of us. I thought it was kind of funny. We were just kind of taking a look at it, actually. So you can see we kind of hugged the shoreline because we wanted to have a good look at the island. Look at the strata here, the angle. Think of the forces, the geologic forces pushing this island up from the sea bottom. Most of these islands are volcanic in origin. So this is still just pulling out of Cat Harbor. Look at the sheer rock there. You can see why it's so well protected. Now we're taking a first look at the west end of Catalina. This is called Eagle Rock. Eagle Rock, yeah. And here's another view of Eagle Rock. And this is the west end of Catalina. So look how mountainous and steep these shorelines are. This is a look at Emerald Cove. How many people here have been to Emerald Cove on Catalina? Isn't it nice? Lovely little place. So this rock here kind of gives this whole anchorage protection. There's good snorkeling, and you go ashore and do some trail hiking. There's a guy up there hiking the trail. So another little cove here. Now we're at Moonstone. See the palm trees on the beach? This is the Newport Harbor Yacht Club facility on Catalina. Their station. And there's barbecues and picnic benches, bocce ball, all kinds of fun things. But it's for members only there. And then you can hike up the trails here. And there's occasionally you see some buffalo. But everything was full. All the moorings and anchorages. We had to anchor out. We just had Traveler painted. And you can see our name and decals are not yet on the boat. The guy didn't get to it soon enough, but it's on there now. But so this is what you call a flopper stopper. And down below here, under the water, is a big metal plate that it dampens the roll of the boat. It makes it much more comfortable. Stand-up paddleboard and a 2-man kayak. This is our 8-man emergency life raft. And this is, of course, the Dodger and the Bimini. We have in the boom roller furling main. So using this winch right here, we can lower the main or reef the main, and it just rolls up into the boom. Our jib is on a roller furler also that's on the headstay. Yeah, and it's what you call a center cockpit. So the owner's stateroom is aft here, and then just around the mast there's a bunk room, and then forward is a V-berth. So it sleeps 8. Another view of Traveler. Also on this view you can see our propane barbecue, which we like to use a lot. Sometimes cook up fresh fish or meat. And this is our 8-horse Yamaha outboard engine, which goes on the dinghy. We also have a 2.5-horse outboard if you're just going shorter distances, or if there's a speed limit of 5 knots. It's just a lot lighter, easier to manage. This 8-horse you can get up and plane with 2 people and do about 20 in the dinghy, which is nice. So we're looking ashore here. This is White's Cove, where the Balboa Yacht Club facility is over here. And look at the waves coming in. You remember last July we had that big hurricane off Cabo San Lucas? Well, these were the waves that were coming up from that storm. Caused quite a bit of rolling in the anchorage and on these moorings here. In fact, that front row of moorings, the harbor masters closed it off because it was too close to the waves breaking. This is the camp at White's Cove, and this whole dock and all of this here, it's gone. The storm, just 2 days after this photo was taken, I think, came in and destroyed all of that. We were there just last weekend, and it's still gone. I mean, it'll be years before it's rebuilt, if ever. This is Toyon Bay, about halfway between White's and Avalon, just a little bit more protected. It's got their own dock, just a lovely facility there. So here we are back in Avalon with the casino in the background. We're getting ready to leave Avalon now. I think this is early in the morning of July 6th, I'm not sure. So we had another spectacular sunrise. And as we're pulling away from Avalon, we went by, this is Pebbly Beach, where they have a boat haul-out facility, and they have a lot of the plant stuff for Avalon. You know, they have the power plant and sewage treatment plant, and they have a lot of facilities here. All this stuff got wiped out. All these boats that are up on the hard were knocked down and badly damaged. There's a lot of dangers at sea. I don't mean to overplay this, but you got to just always be observant and watch out. You always want to have somebody on watch. Here's a tug with a tow. A lot of people don't know there's a cable in between. You don't want to be going between those guys. Here's a cruise ship. There's all kinds of ships at sea everywhere, and they approach fast. I mean, you can look around, not see anything on the horizon, come back in 10 minutes and be right on top of a cruise ship. And you go, wow, it's just amazing how quickly they can come in. Here's some wreckage that was just floating around, and some more wreckage. I mean, you imagine running into that at night? Here's that same cruise ship just a couple minutes later, just past us. So our second island was San Clemente. We approached it from the top, came around the top, down this long bank, and we're going to stay here at Pyramid Cove, which is the most protected place and the favorite anchorage. And then leaving San Clemente would go off this way to the next island. Well, because of the big waves and the storm coming up from the south, this was a mess, and we could not anchor there at all. It was totally closed out. I tried to get permission. Higby taught me this. It's sometimes easier to get forgiveness than permission. It's been something that you just got to live with when you're cruising sometimes. I called the Navy and I said, can we please have permission to anchor and go ashore? He goes, no. And I go, and then he asks, well, what do you want to do? And I go, well, we know that you got, some military stuff going on, but we would like to just anchor down here at the south end of the island, if it's okay with you. And he goes, well, just stay away from the north end of the island. I go, well, does that mean we have permission to stay at the south end of the island? He goes, no, I can't give you permission, but just stay away from the north end of the island. Okay, I got it. So what's going on up here? There's a runway that goes all the way across the island, and this is where the Navy flight students that are learning to land on aircraft carriers, they come out here first, because just like an aircraft carrier, you got water on one side, a short runway, and then water over here. So they got to get it down on the numbers, they say. And then also up here on the north end, they built an entire village, a simulated Middle Eastern city, including a U.S. Embassy mock-up. This is where the Navy SEALs train before they're deployed overseas. Another good reason why you want to stay away from the north end of the island. The runway, yeah.
You're talking about practice?
Yeah. We just had.
It must have been deep for you.
So you can see, compared to Catalina, San Clemente is kind of unremarkable, not very attractive.
Been bombed a lot.
Yeah. So this is Pyramid Rock, which gave the name for Pyramid Cove, and this is where we were going to anchor. Look at the wind on the water. It's it looks 15. It's really blowing like 25 here. It was really, really bad. And then of course the waves. I mean, look at this breaking wave here. So here's another one. Look at that. So there's no wave. So I'm like, we got to look for another anchorage. And just when we got the hook down on a place that I thought would work, this plane comes by and goes, "What are you guys doing here?" So we just ignored them, and they ignored us. And so this is what our anchorage looked like. This little rock outcropping gave some protection. We also had the flopper stopper out to dampen the roll. Not much to do on this island, but we did take the kayak and managed to go ashore here. Out on the table, you can see a pelican skull that I found beachcombing over here on the rocks. This is a pillbox where they do some observations from military. I don't know. Anybody here in the military would know more about this?
What is it?
It's
There's a mine. There used to be a mine range out there. You drop sea mines out of airplanes. And that was one of the spotting stations.
a spotting station first. Okay, there you go. So again, it's a beautiful island, but I kind of prefer Catalina, I think. So here we are the next morning, and it's a bit overcast and cold for middle of July. Here's Barbara all bundled up. I don't know who are you talking to on the radio there? So here's some of the shore facilities. Again, very unattractive buildings. It's not Avalon. This is Wilson Cove, I think, which is a little bit of a landing here. Some ships bring supplies. So this is all business, all Navy. Our next island, Santa Barbara. It's one of the smaller islands. Anacapa is smaller, but Santa Barbara is the smallest of the 4 southern islands by far. It's really tiny. The total area here is only about 1 square mile or less. This little rock here is called Soodle Island. So we approached from this direction, came around, took a close look at Soodle, came around this point, which is a bit foul. We had to worry about submerged rocks here, and then anchored right here near this rock. Now, see these big bowls here and these cliffs? Wow. The shoreline and the sides and the covered wall to wall with barking sea lions and elephant seals. And these act as amplifiers, or it's the sound is echoing off the wall all night long. They never stopped. This is a horrible anchorage. Plus, even with earplugs in, you couldn't sleep. Plus, we had swell coming from 3 different angles, and we were rocking and rolling, even with the flopper stopper out. It was really quite uncomfortable. But fun to kayak around here. And then on this side of the island is the landing, and then right up around here is the ranger station. Believe it or not, I don't know why, they got a ranger there. No, hardly any visitors. He's there all by himself. He's there for about, 10 days, and then they rotate out. He gets to go ashore. Not very pleasant. So here's our approach. That's Soodle Island and Santa Barbara Island. There's a close-up of Soodle.
Soodle.
Yeah, I know, Soodle. Who's heard of Soodle,
I
right?
like Soodle.
S-U-T-I-L. Look at this. The white, of course, is bird shit, so it doesn't smell very nice. These are sea lions and elephant seals. Every one of these little dots. They're all up. Look, they climb this cliff. They're on the top. They're all over the place. They're all right along the water's edge here, too.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't see too many in the water because they're sharks. And the ones we did see in the water were dead. We saw a lot of dead sea lions that met a horrible death. You could just see body parts, There's a body without a head, and here's a head without a body, and it was grim.
Did you see sharks?
We did not see any sharks. Did we see sharks? I don't remember seeing sharks. Barbara, tell them the story about when we're out kayaking. Look at this surge here. So here we are in the kayak. Look at that nice little arch. This is at the I guess it'd be the northeast corner of the island.
So we're left our boat, we're going around the corner and we come upon the XC and the what's the other one? Irving.
The Irving Johnson and the Exie
Before
Johnson.
we go around this corner, we're checking out the sea lions, and it's a rookery there on Santa Barbara Islands for the seagulls as well as the sea lions or the pets. So there's 100 pups and an adult. 100 pups, an adult, and it just goes on. And this is where, and the adults are all, on patrol. So we a respectful distance away, we're kayaking along, and this one just locks eyes with us, and then he slides into the water, and Michael is coming right at us.
The big male.
Comes underneath, and the kayak just goes like this, And I go, that's you, Michael, right? And he goes, oh, no, it wasn't. And we've been hit by the male or the
He
adult.
bumped us hard.
And he spins around because we can see it, and he comes back and he bumps us again. And you're just, and as you can tell, it was the first or second day of our trip. We don't have our life jackets on. And you feel very, very, very vulnerable at this point.
Yeah, this was all before we came around the corner, so we thought we were at the island all by ourselves. But then we see these two tall ships here. So this is the X.E. Johnson and the Irving Johnson, or vice versa. They're identical ships, but they have a bunch of kids on it for, I think one of these was out for a week and the other one was out for 3 weeks. So this guy here is, swinging from the rope. He thought it was really fun until we told him about the sharks. So then he found this ladder here quickly. So this is the landing, and it's really quite challenging. It's hard to tell from this photo, but there was a lot of waves and surge here, and making this really quite difficult. So we had to get the two-man kayak. We backed in so we were bow out, so just in case a wave came, we could paddle out quickly. And I was quick as I could, jumped up to this ladder, which is kind of hard to see, but it's right along the edge here, carrying my paddle. And then as soon as I got off, Barbara quickly paddled out to get out so the wave didn't crush her on the rocks there. It's hard to tell from this photo, but it was really, really gnarly that day. And then guarded by all these sea lions, again, all over the place. But this is how you get ashore. From this little landing, and then you go up these steps. And then the seagulls dive bomb you up here. It's really the Wild West here. So look at these giant male bull, and that's me right there. Barking constantly. So here I am saying, Barbara, okay, I'm ready to get off the island, come pick me up. You can see how this swell here is wrapping around and just surging in and crashing on.
Where do the steps go to?
The ladder goes here, then up here, then here, and then up to these staircase, and then these steps go up to the ranger station. So it takes about 5 minutes or so of hiking to get up there.
There's a little 6-foot by 10-foot visitor center with the history of the island. There actually have been some ranching. There's a husband and wife and 2 kids. I forgot what ranching they did, but they actually,
Here's the trail across the top, and then you can see the U.S. flag. That's at the actual ranger station. So look at these climbers. Sea lions are climbing. It's nearly a sheer cliff, and also very, very rough. It's amazing that these sea lions are able to climb this cliff. There's another look at the arch at the northeast corner of Santa Barbara Island, and look at, again, it's hard to tell from this photo, but you can see the wind and waves here were stronger than this photo indicates. It was really blowing about, 20 or something like that. Here's a blowhole, very active with the surge. Our next island, San Nicolas. We approached from here. We came up and around the island. This would be the far west end of the island, and then this would be the south side of the island. Came around this point, and then we anchored and spent the night here. There's a runway that's kind of obscured by the clouds here. And the island is used as a Pacific missile range. And they also have listening devices for submarines and satellite tracking and all that kind of stuff. So it's very much Navy, but quite a bit different from what goes on San Clemente Island.
Do you have to get permission?
We did not get permission. Well, there's no, and at this point we're just going to do it. So you can see because of the wind, we had a little bit of a reef in the main. Again, not a very remarkably attractive island. It's pretty, barren actually. There were goats on the island, and the goats multiplied and went nuts until they ate everything. There's really no trees or shrubs on this island, very little grass. It's totally bare and denuded from overgrazing by goats. Then they had to get rid of the goats. Another problem is some of the Navy families on the island brought house cats. Well, somehow the house cats got loose and multiplied. Pretty soon there's hundreds of feral cats on this island. And some nature person said, well, that's really bad for the birds. So they had to trap, because they couldn't kill them, they had to trap and relocate these feral house cats. It took 18 months and cost $3 million. Yeah, it took, they just finished it about 5 years ago. Again, look at the wind on the waves and the water there. The fishing here is very good. It's a long way to go. You got to burn fuel to get out here, but once you do, it's worth it. Great lobster diving too. But again, look at the island. Not that attractive. Hardly worth going to, really. Here's an antenna, bunch of stuff, military. This plane landed. We think it was just crew change and maybe bringing some supplies for the people that are living on the island.
Living? People living?
There's a sleeping sea lion. I don't know why they do that, but Pacific Missile. This was on our chalk plotter. Pacific Missile Range. It's like, what are you guys doing out here? Another shot of San Nic. Little military stuff up there. Another fishing boat. Breakfast. Fishing boat. Okay, so now we're off to San Miguel. We left San Nic, I think it was like midnight, because the wind generally is lighter between midnight and 6 in the morning. It's a relative term. It was still blowing 20, 25 or so on this channel from San Nic up to San Miguel. And it was a long way. And we're just beating into the wind the whole way. It was that was probably a tough passage. Barbara slept through most of it. And I was on watch with autopilot for pretty much the whole way. Anyway, we came in through this channel, around this little rock here, which is called Prince Island. This is foul. You can't really go through here. There's some shallow shoaling. And then around this way, and then right here is where we anchored. This is called Kyler's Harbor. And we went ashore here, hiked up, and right about in here somewhere, you'll see some photos later, is where the Cabrillo Monument is, and it has lovely views down on this bay and out this island. We did some diving off this point right here. We met one other boat. They were right here. And you want to tell the story about these guys?
Well, we enter the bay and there's one other boat, and we see they don't have a dinghy. They must be out around the corner. We don't want to anchor on top of them. We, get to our side of the bay, and we're, making breakfast, whatever it is we're doing, and all of a sudden we hear rowing, slap of oars and stuff, and they're rowing with their engine tilted, and they come alongside and we go, hey, how's it going? They go, hey, we've been out here a week, and we go, why, did you guys run out of gas? He goes, well, we have 1 gallon left, but we want to save it for our air compressor.
Because they're divers.
They're divers. So they were planning on doing one more dive and filling up the tanks with the air. So I said, we have plenty of gas. Of course, we have dinner together, lunches together, and we did a dive together. So I did my first kelp dive with them. And they've been diving for a week there. So we did a wonderful wall dive. The sun broke out because we actually had a lot of wind in high tide. But the light was streaming through. Sea lion was going in, weaving around us and just kind of tracking us. Saw some lobster. Just a really wonderful dive for my first kelp dive, and we made some great friends. Had a lot of fun together.
After our slides, we're going to do a video, and you'll see in the video some underwater shots, not us, but some other, to see what it's like on a kelp dive with the sea lions at the Channel Islands. It's really beautiful. So there's Traveler and 2-man kayak, kayaking around over this kelp field, and this is underneath this kelp is where we went on the kelp dive. Look at these elephant seals. They're molting. See, this is like old skin and this is new skin. These are the big males, and this is the younger, probably about a year old or so. Look at that guy. A face only a mother could love, huh? Look at their big nose there too.
Oh my God.
So it's part of the National Park Service. Here's that view I was telling you about. So here's Traveler. You can see a little bit of wind on the water. There's the kelp field where we went for the dive. That other boat was anchored just off the foot over here. They might have been gone when I took this picture, actually. So we came ashore by dinghy here, and I'm pretty sure this is where Cabrillo was killed. What happened was, his logbooks say that he was anchored in a bay and went ashore in the longboat and got flipped by a wave just as he was getting onto the land. And the boat broke his leg, and then he died from infection from the broken leg.
Huh.
And so they never did find his burial site, but they did give a monument to him, which I'm about to show you. Look at these lovely sand beaches here. A lot of wind that caused these sand dunes like this. Some wildflowers. There's another shot of Traveler down in the bay. These, I forget what they're called, but yeah, Coreopsis, giant. They're about this tall or something like that. Just acres and acres of them. It's beautiful. And look out in the back and see the wind out there. Woo-hoo. So this island is so far west, it's outside of the lee of Point Conception. So imagine that first shot where we had all the islands, and the winds, the prevailing winds are just blowing like stink outside all the time. The lee of Point Conception would be like Anacapa and most of Santa Cruz, most of Santa Rosa, and all of San Miguel are so far west that they're out of the lee of Point Conception, so they get wind all the time. Same with San Nicolas. So here we are, again, National Park sign, and the trail that leads up to Cabrillo's monument. Here it is, Cabrillo's monument. And this is Prince Island in the background. This is Point Conception right there. And this would be Goleta and Santa Barbara over here. Cabrillo discovered these islands in 1542, I think it was. More wildflowers, which we thought were a bit unusual to see so many colorful wildflowers in the middle of July in a year of drought.
Wow. It is.
So a beautiful island. It's high. So here we are off to our next island, Santa Rosa. And this is the mainland here. So that's Point Conception. I think that's called Government Point, this Point Conception. So we came from San Miguel and came down this coastline here, rounded this point, and we anchored right about here, and then went ashore and cruised around up in this area here. The wind was up. This was like Transpac in the Molokai Channel. We had 25 knots right behind us, reefed main, reefed jib, and we're flying along doing 9 knots. It was pretty exciting. We came into this bay, found this remarkably new, very well-built pier built by the National Park Service. Must have cost, I don't know, $3 or $4 million. The thing's gorgeous. And looking for a place to anchor. We kind of turned and motored in toward the beach a little bit more, but there's a lot of kelp here, so we had to drop the hook just outside of the kelp field. Tell the story about when we dragged anchor.
Oh my gosh. So, our whole trip had a lot of wind. And at one point, up at San Miguel, or was it here? San Miguel? I think it was when we dragged.
Yeah, San Miguel.
I got Michael hooked on Downton Abbey. And, you know, when it's really blowing, you can only read so many books, stuff like that. So I said, come on, you gotta watch an episode. So I got him hooked. So what we did was we left the GPS on after when the winds came up. And we were just swinging back and forth, so our track was deeply etched, you know, solid black line. So we're watching daytime, mid-afternoon. And without really realizing, both of us just kind of looked over to the GPS because it's little kind of like that. And all of a sudden we're watching our track on the GPS and we are just dragging anchor straight back. So it was wonderful that, you know, we had set up, and luckily that this happened while we weren't hiking out on shore. And different places. But we had a lot of wind at each of the islands.
Oh, it would have been disastrous if we were not on board at the time.
Yeah.
Or, you know, even at night and you just like sleeping through it, you maybe not know. So anyway, we both just got up and went into action. We had to raise the anchor and find a better spot and reset the anchor. I don't know how much it was blowing, but here it is, 35 knots.
Pretty steady, but the gusts higher. It was
Yeah, I don't know, like 3 days or something like that. Not too much fun. This is interesting. On Santa Rosa Island,
River.
a spring, maybe this one or one just like it, archaeologists discovered bones that go back 13,000 years. This is the oldest human remains discovered in North America, counting all of Canada, the US, and Mexico. Right here on Santa Rosa Island.
No.
Here's Barbara looking for bones.
No, wait.
And I'm looking for, I don't know what. This is old farm equipment that's been abandoned. This island used to be used for ranching, and then, you know, they eventually gave it up to the Park Service. I think they sold it for $130 million or something. So they got fair money, but part of the deal was they just had to leave everything the way it was. Here's another shot of that gorgeous pier that nobody uses. Here's part of the ranch land, farm, ranch barn. Look at this barn. There's like all the tools and stuff are still here. It's like kind of like a ghost town, but all the stuff's still there. I think that's a cow skull, but I'm not sure.
Could be a dinosaur.
So a dry creek bed, and this is part of the trail hiking around the island. We got up to the top and found a picnic bench. So back over here is the harbor. This is Traveler, and then we noticed, hey, there's another little boat anchored next to us. These were fishermen just kind of sleeping it off, waiting for the wind to die. Never did die, but so we're cruising around. Saw lots of more wildflowers. One thing about the Channel Islands, it's very much like the Galapagos Islands. These islands are so remote and were never part of the mainland, so they developed their own ecosystem, plants and animals, and there's a lot of species on these islands that exist nowhere else in the world, including the Catalina fox, or I think it's called Channel Islands fox. And Barbara and I were just over at Catalina last weekend and hiked from White's up toward Blackjack, and we came across, I think we counted 12 of these endangered species. So they've rebounded now, and their population is very healthy, at least on Catalina. And there's going to be more about that in the video that we're going to see soon. I think that's lupin, but I'm not sure.
Those on Catalina.
Wild buckwheat. Okay, so this is on Santa Rosa, and so this is a runway. I think it's available for anyone that wants to land there. This is a commercial plane. It has flights, I think, once a day. And it's a bit bumpy. You know, it's not exactly very level. And the wind blows this way. So that's a bit of a challenge. We walked down. There's nobody at the plane. STOL means short takeoff and landing. And it's Channel Islands Airways, so it's Fly CIA. I thought that was kind of interesting. So here's this is a bald eagle that's immature, so its feathers are still all dark. The more mature ones have, of course, white head feathers and more white tail feathers, and these feathers turn out white. I don't know why this is blue right there.
Let's see, this is blue.
But hold on a second. What this doesn't show is the wingspan, and it was phenomenal. It's like 6 feet or 7 feet.
Yeah, this is a large bird.
Earlier, we've been talking to the caretakers, which was this young couple, first time on this island. They've been there 2 weeks. Oh yeah, we're staying 6 months, and they had a 1.5-year-old little girl. You know, kind of hold on to her leg, and you're thinking, oh, they've got this wonderful place to go hiking and everything, and you think, oh, she's going to go play in the yard. But then when you see this
bird of prey snatching the baby girl. Look at those talons right there. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. They would pick up a small dog for lunch, no problem.
Sure.
They introduced elk to the island for a private gun club, and you join the club, pay your dues, you get to go over here and hunt elk. And there's all kinds of animals there still. This was this shed here was a place where they would dress the kill or whatever. And they left this little boat there. So, Captain, my captain, I'm ready to go. And a bunch of wheeled farm equipment, just kind of like the boneyard here. This is the his and her outhouse. And here's another shot of the $3 million pier to nowhere. Nobody's using. Beautiful crane there too to lift something. Checking it all out. So they have these steps down for smaller boats to get in there too. Oh, it is an amazing pier. So you can see the wind on the water. Now, we kayaked ashore, and now we got to figure out, well, shit, how are we going to get back to the boat with this much wind? Well, rather than cut the corner when having all this wind on our beam, I thought we should paddle around so we're directly upwind of Traveler, and then all we have to do is just kind of like coast down to the boat, because there's nobody here to help us. You know, downwind here, whew, nothing, and we're the only boat there. So we get lined up, and we actually like rehearse how we're going to do this because we only get one shot, and you got it really required a lot of seamanship on Barbara's part because she had the harder job. She was on the bow and had to jump off the kayak with her paddle in one hand and the painter for the kayak in the other hand, so she had no free hands, and climb a ladder, and you know, and all this, you know, this is like 35 knots of wind, and get up onto the boat, and then the wind caught my stern and swung me around, and then I had to get up on the boat, but it was easier then with Barbara already on the boat. But yeah, and then we had to get the kayak out of the water and up on the boat. So it was a bit of a chore, and but it worked out fine. You can see we got a couple of fenders there ready for the kayak because I thought we'd bump hard. And then this is our flopper stopper spinnaker pole over there. You can see the dinghies up on the davits, so we're ashore by kayak.
So then there's my side of the story.
Thank you. Go ahead, Barbara, please.
It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay, yeah. So we take a paddle, go, whoa, look at the wind. So we hold up our paddles like this, and we've got sails, and we're going, whee! This is so much fun, and we know what we're doing. And all of a sudden, you know, we're just coming up on the boat, and we're going, oh, shit. And seriously, we're like, oh, and I'm going, I want to back pedal, and he goes, don't do that, because we'll spin the kayak, right? So we were going full speed ahead, and seriously, just got off onto the ladder and grabbed everything, spun it around, but it's like, you overshoot it.
Without paddling at all, just holding our paddles up, the little blade was enough of a spinnaker that we were doing about 5 knots, going screaming across the water. So this is the park puts this out here, so they have not only the island protected, but offshore, these waters here are no fish, marine protected areas. Beautiful beaches, huh? And look at these rocks. Aren't they amazing?
Wow.
So here's our next island, Santa Cruz. So we approached and it was a little bit overcast. This actually looks like 2 islands or a rock off a big island, but they're connected. So this would be the west end of Santa Cruz. And as we got in there, the fog started lifting a little bit. And you see it's still a little bit hazy. But we got amazing, look at these sea caves. They're all over this end of the island, including the painted cave, which is so big that Traveler, with our huge mast, could actually fit inside this cave.
Oh my gosh.
And here I am on the kayak. So it goes back hundreds of feet inside here. Of course, it narrows as you get back and deeper into the cave. And then way back deep inside the cave, there's like another little opening. And if the tide's low, you could kind of fit through there in a kayak. And it goes back another 100 yards or so in a really narrow, tight, long tunnel that's just full of sea lions, and they're barking. And they're really upset. So you don't want to do that. Well, this is from inside looking out. Look at the wind on the water there, how rough it is. Barbara took this picture. I'm on Traveler. We had to take turns because there's no anchorage there, so somebody had to stay on the boat. But where am I?
He says I'm on Traveler, but do you see him?
Yeah. I had to go down and get a beer or something. I don't know. So look at these arches, and it's really spectacular. This is probably some of the finest kayaking there is in Southern California. It's on Santa Cruz Island. It's really, really nice. So I mean, like you could cruise through here and then go around this arch and through here and then through here and the exit, come out through there, and there's another one over here. That's just amazing. We had a lot of fun eating, fixing meals just for the two of us. So here's the XC Johnson. We see them again. Same boat. Remember we saw them on Santa Barbara Island? Here they are on Santa Cruz. So this is another pier on Santa Cruz. And it's been there for a long time. And there's some ranch facilities here ashore. Somebody else collected all these bones and left them on the table for us to check out. So a lot of animals here. Santa Cruz is not 100% national park. The eastern third is part of the national park, and the western 2/3 of Santa Cruz is owned by and operated by the Nature Conservancy in a partnership with the Park Service. So this is privately owned by a nonprofit called the Nature Conservancy. So they have, of course, trails all over the island. We had fun walking down. So we're walking around these beautiful trees, looking down at our boat. There's some of the trail. Of course, Barbara's in her flip-flops. Not exactly hiking boots, but whatever. So there's the XC Johnson and the pier that we were just showing you. And here's Traveler. Some of the facilities. They call this Prisoner's Cove because I think the story was that there were some prisoners from Mexico that were brought up to San Diego, and they said, we don't want them here, you got to take them somewhere else. So they're going to take them to Monterey, and they got as far as Santa Barbara, and they escaped or something. Anyway, they ended up finding them here at this cove, so it was called Prisoner's Cove. So this is that same pier. Here's the National Park Service. This boat's out of Ventura, and it comes and services, the rangers that are on these different islands. So we paddled out and made friends with the captain of the XE Johnson, and he gave us a full tour of his tall ship. This is between Santa Cruz and Anacapa, a Navy ship that was on patrol. I think they're getting ready to do some target shooting. So here we are at our next island, Anacapa. Wow, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That sunrise. And so this would be the east end of the island. And this is the iconic Arch Rock. And this would be the west end of Anacapa. Anacapa is really 3 islands linked by this shoaly area between them right in here. So this would be called West Island, Middle Island, and East Island. And the lighthouse and the ranger station, everything is on the far east end of the East Island right in here. The other thing I wanted to show you is in normal times, the water temp is in the 50s or so out here. Quite cold compared to what we're used to. And because of that, there's really very healthy kelp here most of the time. Not so much lately. The water temps have gone up dramatically. We've had water temps in the 70s, and that's not good for the kelp. The kelp melts when it gets that warm and just dies off. And so with it, then all the fish that were using the kelp forest to hide and find food are struggling a bit. So this is the west end of Anacapa. And this is the east end. There's the Arch Rock. Interesting, you wouldn't know this, but we kayaked, of course, through here. And then over here on this end is like a little side door arch, just like this one. You could paddle through and go through another way. Again, fabulous kayaking. And of course, all that white stuff is bird poop, so it doesn't smell very good. So these are park rangers doing a dive, and they're hooked up with microphones. They got a helmet with cameras, and they can do a live feed on the mainland to the visitor center. And Barbara, take it over from here. Please finish.
Oh, well, being a 7th grade English teacher, it was really close to my heart. I guess every Wednesday during the summer, the divers go into the water One diver in particular has a microphone, and he's got the live feed back from Ventura. There's 2 platforms, so I'm shooting from the higher platform, and there is a monitor and a couple benches, so it could hold probably about 20 kids watching the live feed there. So we watched the live feed as they were down below. We could hear the kids' voices. They're just amazement. When the diver was down, there was another diver behind the scenes grabbing a starfish and giving it to the man who was mic'd up, and then you have the photographer. And the kids would ask questions and the diver would answer. And the kids were asking like, how many feet a day does kelp grow? And he would say 2 feet a day. And they would talk about pollution in the water. And then the diver behind would grab a lobster and hand it to the guy mic'd up. And he holds up the lobster. Kids, what's this? And you can hear all this screaming and amazement and going, that's a lobster, that's a lobster.
It was a giant lobster too. The thing had to be like 40 pounds or something.
Settle down, let's go
Giant.
back to your questions. And now and then settle down. And just pick up a giant, like a starfish and hold it up to the camera. So the kids were getting a thrill out of it as much as I was getting a thrill out of it. So it's every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. You can go online and watch the whole feed, the live feed, and hear the kids. You just can't participate because you're not there. But yeah, it's really.
Now we had Traveler anchored just outside this little cove, and we had to come in by kayak, and we weren't even allowed to have our kayak tied up and climb the ladder. We had to hoist the kayak up and stow it up here, so it was out of the way of these divers doing their dive. Here's part of the ranger station. I think this might be where the old lighthouse keeper lived with his family. Talk about a lonely job that would be. This island's full of birds, and smells like it too.
Is that the only lighthouse?
On Anacapa, yes.
In the General Islands.
Oh, I think Catalina has a couple of lighthouses, but anyway, this is the most famous lighthouse of all the Channel Islands. It's the biggest and brightest and most, photographed, let's say. So this is a little hiking trail up there. These cliffs right here are just sheer drops, and you'll see later some other photos. These birds, a ranger walked with us up this trail and took us to the lighthouse. It's closed, you're not supposed to go there, but he figured that we were capable enough. It's closed really for people that aren't good at hiking.
Because the sound blows out your ears.
Yeah, there's a foghorn connected with this lighthouse that's very, very loud. And also, you disturb these birds, so you got to be very careful when you walk by them. Every one of these birds has 1 to 3 chicks right around it that are gray in color, so it's hard to see them. But if you were to walk by here fast and scare like a chick from this female, and the chick ran over here close enough to this female would kill that female's chick for encroaching on her space. Yeah, it's really brutal over there. There's just way too many birds, in my opinion. So anyway, the sign says you can't go past this point, and it's really for your own ear protection. We had earplugs. So here's a shot looking down at Traveler. You can see the dinghy's in the water, so it means we went ashore by kayak. So this is up near the lighthouse looking to the west. This island here is still part of Anacapa, so this would be the west island. Middle island is out of view, obscured by this point here. And all of this right here is the east island. Here's a landing with a crane to lift stuff up. It's not used anymore, it's in disrepair. They're probably going to take it down soon. So this island back here is Santa Cruz.
And we have the lighthouse keeper, or the one ranger that stays 24/7. We had him once come out to the boat. Can you go back and see?
Sure.
And have dinner with us. So we got some inside stories in this one. We were talking about the desal plant. The biggest building off to the left actually houses 2 large redwood cisterns that were original 1930s. And they still are in perfect working order, but he says we're not using them. Well, we're not using them like we should. They do bring in water with the water barge. Go ahead and take over this story.
Yeah, this whole building here is fairly new and was built just to disguise and house and protect 2 giant water tanks that were built to service the people that live here, the rangers, and at huge expense. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, they can't use a desal plan here because National Park rules are you cannot put anything into the water. So when it's time to flush the membranes, it would be salt going into the water. So instead, at what, a couple $1 million, they barge in.
Yeah, this is sea salt that comes from the ocean that you can't put back into the ocean because it's concentrated salt.
National rule.
Yeah. So here's an example of a mother and her fledgling. These birds cannot fly or even walk very fast, so they're very, very vulnerable. And the see this red spot here on the beak? Ornithologists believe that is, through evolution, developed to be a target for the chicks to put their beak right there because that's the best spot to get the food when the mom spits it back out. Regurgitates. That's how they're fed.
Seagulls?
Yeah, these are seagulls.
Oh.
So this is my last slide here. So let's look at under this bird here. There's 3 eggs. I don't know if you can see them.